Okay, there's been a lot of talk about this, how to make these notches over here when you're making a grill or just something you want to pull these edges up at 45 degrees or whatever degree you want to do. Most of these fire pits are not 45, they're actually a little steeper than that, so it doesn't matter. This is 45-degree angle we're working on here, so this is what I already drew up, and I make these little lines in here, that way it makes it easier to bend the metal by hand, or I use a piece of angle iron and some clamps and just pull them up a little at a time until I get them all even around the corners. So let's look into the way Austin Lanier had, in his little redneck way, showed how to draw this the other day, because I haven't bent much metal. I've done a lot of fabrication and stuff, but I haven't ever really bent metal too much, so I wasn't fresh on how to do this. But basically what you want to do is draw the shape, which I think he says is called a truncated shape. So let's do that in a spot here. So in this case, I'm just making a 12-inch square in here. This will be 12 inches with an 1.5-inch lip around the edges that we're going to bend up. So in that case, let's just draw something up here. I'm not that great at CAD, so this is Cut 2D Pro that I'm using. It works real good for plasma work. So see how to do this. So I guess the first step is let's just build us a line that's let's just make it 12 inches long. So let's see what happens here. Actually, you could just draw a line like this and then come in here and make it whatever length you want. So let's set the size on this, the width of this line to 12 inches. I'm not even sure why I'm doing it this way. Let's delete that. The best way to do is just make a box. So let's make this 12 inches by 12 inches. And let's put that in the lower left corner here. Actually, I like to center it up on this right here. Let's just center it right there. It'll snap to that. Okay. So there's our 12-inch, but remember we're going to come out here and we're going to bend this. So we got to figure out what that length is going to be right there. Now we don't want to cheat and look at that one because I've already done it. Let's figure out how to do that. So we can move this out of the way for now, I guess. Now let's just draw one. So remember, we want the short side of that to be 12 inches. So let's just draw this line like we would start to do here. I'll just make it however long we want to, and then we'll change the size of it here. Remember, I'm not that great at CAD, so this makes it easy. So let's just make a 12-inch length line right there. Okay. That's going to represent that one. We're going to make this like we're looking at the edge of the completed bend. So it's going to be 1.5 inches here. So let's put a line just for now. Again, you can change these lengths. Let's just make a line like, oh, I didn't even pay attention. I don't know what angle that is. I guess that doesn't matter either. You know what? I think I figured out earlier is, you know what's actually easier is let's just make some lines here that are at a 90 degree. See, that says 2.1. You can make that line whatever length you want. You can see it Right there, hit the space bar and you can come over here and grab another point that you want to draw from. So right there, make that 1.5. Okay, right click and get off of it. Now let's turn these at a 45-degree angle. So over here, to rotate, let's just put that, I think you got to put a negative 45 on this side. Make sure we're anchored at the bottom of that and apply that. So that turn that to 45. And let's get rid of the negative on this side. And let's turn that one. Make sure we're anchored down here on the left. Okay, so there's our shape. Now let's draw us a line across the top. Okay, just click your line there. Snap to that. Snap to that. Right click, get out of it. Okay, there's our basic shape. If you were looking at this from the end of it, either end of it, since it's 12 by 12, it's going to be looking like this when it's all together. On this side, that side, and on the other side. So now we've got this length of this line right here, which is going to represent how long this line is right here. Okay, and here's our inside area. So basically we need to put, all we need is 2 of these really. So let's copy that, and then let's paste that, and then let's rotate that 90 degrees. Okay. And then let's just get this stuff up out of the way. We just have these now that we can work with that have our lengths and everything. And let's put this back down here where we had it earlier. So let's put this, no, let's keep the center in the 0 point. So that makes it easy. This is 12 inches, so we know that's 6 inches either direction. So there we go. So now what we need is we need that line right there. And since we know that's 6, let's go up 1.5 inches because that's what our flat pattern like this is going to be laid out at. That's what this length is going to be. This tab is 1.5 inches long. So let's move that. Let's transform this down here. It says move. Let's think about, let's keep that centered on this 0 line. So our X needs to be 0. Y is going to be 6. So it's going to be 1.5 inches more than that. So let's say 7.5. And let's put that line right there. And we need to do the same thing down here. So let's just say right click. Let's go copy. And let's paste that. Now see, it's stacked it on top of that one. But now we want to move that down here. So if that's 6, now that's going to be 7.5 inches. So let's put a negative 7.5. Our X needs to be on 0. So let's apply that. So there we got one there. Let's just click off of that. Now we need this line. So let's move it. Remember this is 0, so that needs to be at 7.5 on the X from our center point. So let's say 7.5. And then our Y position on the center line needs to be at 0. Okay. Apply that. Okay, now let's copy and paste that one. Copy. Paste is going to stack it on top of that one, but we need to move that over here, so it's going to be a negative 7.5 on the X. Apply that. Now we're done with that tool, and all we really need to do now is connect these lines to make it like this. Remember, this is a flat pattern. Remember, this is the truncated shape, and we're converting this to a flat pattern. So let's just draw our lines. Let's go back up here to our draw line. So let's go from here, and it'll kind of snap to these points. And I should have started out here, but if I push the space bar, I can go ahead and snap back to that, and snap back to this corner, and hit the space bar. Okay, and then we can go over here. Let's start on the outside edge, and that'll make it where we can snap to all of these points like that. hit the space bar and we can get over here. Start out here. Snap. Snap. Space bar. Let's get this one. Snap to there, and there. Okay. Now I can just right click and get out of that tool. So see, that looks pretty much like that one, except we need to get rid of this because we're going to have a hard time bending that without a press brake or something like that to bend this. This is 10 gauge material or 3/16, whatever we're building our fire pit stuff out of. So now what I would like to do, what I could do is just delete that center out of it altogether, okay? That's one way of doing it. Now let's just mark this and let's put, remember that's 1.5, so let's put that in our corner so we can deal with it better. So let's put that at 1.5. I don't know why that got mad at me there, but 1.5. We're in the absolute here. 1.5, and then let's go 1.5 in the Y. It should put us right. That didn't work, did it? Because I'm on the 0 point. I need to be in the absolute, I think. Let's do that again. 1.5. 1.5. Apply that. And that's wrong. I should have had a negative position in there. See, I'm not very good at this, see, but we'll get there. Let's do a negative. All right. Now that puts us right where that was. Okay. Where our imaginary box is going to be, like where our little lines are going to be here. Now, yeah, we could cheat and take these and put them right in there, but we're not going to do that because I'm just going to tell you what you do is you do the math. Like if that's 12 inches, you divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, however many lines. I like to leave about 300 thousandths gap in here to bend that you're not going to cut, and then cut the rest here. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are say 300 thousandths each, that's 1.5 inches of metal you're bending instead of 12 inches that you're never going to be able to bend very easily by hand. So if you need less, you know, if you do too much less, it wants to almost clip that out. You don't want that. So we'll just leave it at that. That seems to work pretty good with a piece of 3/16 angle clamped to this. So there's a lot of ways to do this. Sometimes I take and just leave the line in there and draw a box over it, but I think I figured out a better way of doing that. So I think what you can do is just, I figured this math out. These are 2 5/8 each. So you can figure your math out and do that, or you can just start drawing it, whatever you want to do. But if that's the case, let's draw 2 5/8, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So let's just draw us a line just about anywhere here. And let's make the length of that. Zoom this in, it's so much easier to see the length. See that L? Let's make that say 2.58. And remember, we can go in there and change the length if we wanted to. 2.625 would be good. Right there. Okay, if you want to check that, just go over here and do this set the size. Shows you right there, it's 2 5/8, 2.625. Okay. Now what we can do, I don't know how much room we have in here. We could just move this to make sure we got room to deal with it. See that little line sitting there? There's a tool right down here that talks about array copy. So let's go in here. We know that's 2 5/8, and that's what it shows here is select. You have to have that selected. See, it's pink. So that's the X. Select object size. The Y is not going to be important because this is just a line. If you had something like a circle or a square, you know, yeah, you might have to deal with some of that. We're going to make 4. Is that right? Let's see, how do we do it? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go in here and we want the gap to be 300 thousandths. It don't matter what the Y says here because we don't have any kind of Y dimension there. And then we're going to have one row going this way. And our columns is going to be 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. It could be a bunch or just one row. It don't matter, but you still. So I've got selected 4 columns and 1 row right here. Our gap is 300 thousandths. And I don't know about all this. We'll just forget that and see what it looks like here. If we say copy, bang. See there it put. Let's click off of it so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those right there. Okay. Now that's all we really need. Now we know we're going to need one this way and one that way. So at this point we could just right click that and say copy and paste. And it's stacked on that. Now let's go ahead and get out of this tool. And let's go to where it says rotate objects here. Let's turn that in at 90 degrees. Apply that. See, there's one there. So now we can use that one here. We're going to need more of them, but that's enough for now. So now let's move that to where we want it to be. Alright, so transform object, this is where you move them. Let's center everything here. So we know that this is right on the 0 line on the X position. It's going to be 6 inches because this is 12. It's going to be 6 inches that way. So let's put 0 on the X and let's put 6 inches on the Y. Now let's apply that. Okay. See, it put it right where we want it there. So now let's copy. Well, mark all of those. Right click, let's copy and paste that one. And it's stacked on top of there. So now let's move that one over here, which is going to be at 12 inches. Still centering up on the Y at 6, but our X needs to be at 12 inches. See how that works. There we go. There's that one. Now this is the position going here and there, so let's move that one. Remember, we're working off of centers. So this is going to be at 6 inches on the X. We're at 0 on the Y. This is our 0 point. See here? Apply that. Now let's copy and paste that one. And let's put that one up here, which is going to be at 12 inches on the Y. And 6 inches on the X. It's going to be right in the center point. Apply that. There you go. And that's really all there is to doing that. And I know it might seem like it takes a little bit of time to do that, but once you get that in there, you're done, and you can go make a million of these if you want. But before I'm done, I like to check the vectors just to be sure you don't have any opens or nothing. Check that vector right there, search selected. It shows there's some issues there. I think it's because it's just not joined. So if you click this, see that's not joined right there. That's all it amounts to. So we can join that easy by just box around there. Click this tool right here. It says join open vectors. Shows you have 25 opens. So let's push join. Now anywhere you click, it should be joining that vector right all the way around there. It's going to cut all that, the notch and everything. It's going to come in here and cut these opens one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 16 of them. Now, when you're done, you can weld that up on the outside and grind them smooth, or if you don't need the strength, just leave them slotted like they are. But before I'm done with a file, I like to put it right in the 0 point. So let's move this. Now let's anchor it down here in this corner instead of the center. Let's put a 0 right there. 0 on the X and Y. Apply that. Now, all of this garbage over here we don't need anymore, so let's just push delete on all that, select it and delete it, so it'll be cutting little crap out here if you don't. And then you just go File, Export, SVG, or whatever way you want to save it. And that's just 12-inch bin test, save. Yeah, it already exists, I know. And there you go. So that's how you do that. That's one way of doing that. So that's all there is to that. So I appreciate you watching. I'm going to make a video on how I made one of these, and I didn't want any questions about how we did that. I didn't. This is kind of how Austin drew this up. So it's just a different software. He used AutoCAD. I used Cut2D. And if you can use Inkscape or whatever you want to do, that's just kind of how you do that. Anyway, appreciate you watching this. We'll see you next time.